for a couple of days.
On my tongue, depending that time, poisonous vibration. Help my body run, I'm running for my life, running for my life, sipping on straight glory, let the vibe slide over me. This beat is a chemical. Beat is a chemical. When the leaf don't save my seed, I'll be back when it's all complete. The moment is medical. Moment is medical. Sipping on straight glory. Fallout of formation.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hardscape Ceiling Supply, your go-to source for top-tier ceiling products made for the grind. Whether you're protecting pavers, concrete, or natural stone, they've got the gear and guidance to help your jobs last longer and shine brighter. Trusted by pros who know the difference. From prep to finish, seal the deal with Hardscape Ceiling Supply. From cleaning to sealing, restoration to protection. They support pros who know the difference. Available exclusively at Daytona Pressure North, located at 2323 North State Street, building number 138, Bunnell, Florida. And tell them you heard it here on the Clean Humor Podcast.
This November 4th through the 5th, the Panhandle Expo takes over Panama City Beach. The #1 free event for pressure washing and soft washing contractors. Learn from the best in the industry with powerful training sessions that will sharpen your skills and help grow your business. Experience top vendors, hands-on demonstrations, and the latest equipment live and in action. Network with contractors from across the country at the Edgewater Beach and Golf Resort. November 5th and 6th. Registration is free, but spots go fast. Register today at panhandleexpo.com.
Happy Thursday, everybody. This is Anthony here with the host with the most, the clean. I'll get it out in a minute. It's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been on here. Everybody had to take off the seat and left me at home by myself. But 33 days, guys. We got 33 days till we invade Panama City Beach for the Panhandle Power Wash Expo. It's one of the biggest training events there is, I'm going to say, on the planet for pressure washing. We got so much stuff going on and cramming it in 2 or 3 days. So we want everybody to go to www.panhandleexpo.com and get registered for that event. Also, when you get there, we got an app this year we're going to be using. You go to the App Store, you download the app. Make sure you turn on your push notification. That way you know what's happening, where you need to be, and everything that's going on around the vicinity where we're at, where we're having our show at. We're here tonight with a gentleman that we've had on before, a good friend of ours, David Sessions. We're just going to turn it over to him, let him talk a little bit, tell us a little bit about himself, what he's been up to the last month and a half, 2 months. And we're going to dig into this thing, and we're just going to pick his brain, see what we can get out of him.
Welcome, David. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. The app's a cool. That's a cool idea with everything that goes on there, like to know what you're missing out on or what's about to start, so you can get over there to it, that kind of thing. So that's awesome.
And the app also is not only the event-only app. We have videos. We have educational blogs. We update that, so it's not just the expo itself. It goes with you all year. You've got a question. Did you miss something? Did you miss a video, or did you forget what that trainer was saying? You can go back and watch that video. You can go back and ask questions. So it's like all year you can use this app. It's just amazing. And thanks to Dab Marketing that brought it to us. So we're so proud of that.
Yeah, last years we've had it in the past. Somebody's been running around with a megaphone, or Trudy's trying to yell at everybody, get them where they need to go and everything.
Oh, that's my megaphone.
So we had to come up with a different way to get people in the places where they needed to be. So Lana come on board last year and helped us out a lot last year, and this year's been a phenomenal help. And everything, her and Jared both, and phenomenal people, man. Their heart's in it and in the right place, and we thank them for that.
And before David gets started, I was asked at the CETA show, what makes the Panhandle show so different? What makes it different? And I said, it's the contractors that take their time to help other contractors. And I said, it's the love of the industry. That's what this event is the love of the industry. Nobody's expecting to get paid. They do it. They call me. I've had to turn people away that volunteer to come speak or train because I just don't have the time. And it's this industry is just all about loving the industry and helping each other. And that's what sets it apart from, most of the other ones. So there are some other good training events out there. I've been to a lot of them. There's some like your workshops. There's a lot of information out there, and not saying any of them are bad. They're all different. Ours is way different than the Huge or CETA. We're all about the training and the education and all the networking. So with that being said, David, take it off with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think to your point, it's why I reached out a few months ago to be a speaker at the event, because I think that through all of that training, there's so many questions around business, understanding, what should my marketing budget be? Where should I market at? How do I hire people that'll stay on? How do I retain them once I get them there? Train them once I get them there? And so all of these things that are so crucial to growing and scaling a business. And ideally, I mean, for most people that I talk to, I think the whole goal of capitalism is that fortunately you make money off of other people's labor. And so the idea of scaling is the first question that comes about as soon as you figure out the actual craft or service that you're going to provide. And so I wanted to be there because for the love of the industry. I mean, pressure washing gave a lot to me initially, and I was very fortunate. My family was very fortunate with what we were able to do in pressure washing so quickly, and so it's a good opportunity to give back and answer questions and just really pour into people and hopefully have them walk away with some knowledge that they didn't have before that can help them throughout the year for the upcoming year. So. I guess, I mean, you guys I generally talk about systems or operations, what I want to cover. Anthony, I think, did a good job of asking questions last time about things that he was curious about that I could talk about. Do you guys have certain subjects? If people want to comment, please leave your comments. I'll be happy to answer questions tonight as you jump in the comments section. But yeah, I mean, we just wrapped up our founders workshop at the end of September. We had some pressure washers, detailers, a couple of different industries there. I was able to really show them the difference between just the idea of being a business owner and like the systems and processes that really allow your company to scale when you're not in the room. I think, when you start out, you're wearing 12 hats.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out which direction to run every day. And so getting these systems and processes in place really allows you to go in one direction and know that they'll take care of that other direction. So if you're running left there, the systems and processes are running right. So it was really good. We covered Facebook marketing. We helped them create ads in class. We sat there with everyone's laptop and ads manager and literally walked them through their own ad creation, as well as teaching them how to write standard operating procedures manuals, which is always kind of fun. So what we do is we start off by everyone has to write down how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so we have them write the directions down, and then I read the directions off verbatim and follow them just like it is on the paper. And I think people start to kind of realize, like, oh, when you say put the bread and the peanut butter on the bread and the jelly on the bread, and I'm sitting here with a jar of jelly and peanut butter on top of 2 slices of bread, and I'm like, this isn't clear enough, right? So we do this exercise until we can get SOPs for whatever business they're running to be tight enough that you can put someone in the van after training them, or put someone on a truck after training them, or work out of your shop and like, here's this, right? Here's your SOP for a dispatcher. Here's your SOP for field operations. Here's your, if you have a field manager, and then be able to give that to them after training and let them go out into the field and use that as their guide in order to get them through the day, without having to kind of guess at what they're supposed to do when they have questions. So, it was really insightful for the people that came out. And I'm excited to, one of them was actually a pressure washer from Atlanta. So we get to work pretty closely with him over the next couple of months and kind of watch him grow a little bit in his business. So it was a good time.
That's good. You know what, I see the challenge of like us. You know, we've had a wash company for 20 years, and my husband won't get off the truck. He loves it, and you know, we let other people go and do it, but you know, to let go and to give trust to somebody else is really. I mean, Anthony has the same problem. We talked about it before. It's like, I don't think I'll ever get off the truck. My husband's like, I'm not getting off the truck. It's just probably releasing that the baby that you grew. It's like sending a kid off to college. You know, you've built this business, you love this business, and then you're like, you can have it now, but be very careful with it, you know. So I talk to a lot of guys, they're just so scared just to let it go after they've worked so hard to build it. Do you come across that a lot?
Yeah, I think the fear is not really that you're letting it go so much as that you're letting it go in hands that you're not sure is capable of maintaining this established business, this thing that your customers have come used to know you for, right? This good customer service, showing up, doing the right thing. And so to me, I think the fear comes out of not having the right systems, the right processes in place, right? Like, because if you were confident about your onboarding, you were confident about your training, you had seen people go through it and get better, and you were confident that your managers and the training that they've gone through were able to establish a good day-to-day, operations without you. Why would anybody really want to be on the truck? I mean, I love working, but I also understand that if I can, for instance, on my mobile detailing company, like we've done that for right at 3.5 years now, and it runs itself and does a couple $1 million a year. And I just don't know why I wouldn't take that time to get time back with my family that I had to sacrifice to build that company, or go start another company, buy an established business, a different one, and launch that up. Because to me, and kind of to Trudy's metaphor, I think I actually do have kids that are about to go off to college in a few years, and I do have a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old that's going to be 16 soon and needs a car and stuff like that. And my big life goals are to have them graduate college with no debt, to give them their first house, these types of things. And so for me, it's about wealth building, and not so for me, I just don't have a fear around these systems or processes in a way that wouldn't allow me to let go of it. And I think, to be fair to like Anthony or your husband, like, until you actually let go of it and have a good experience, Anthony and I talked a little bit, like when you have guys in there and you start trusting them, then they go and mess up. It's really hard to be like, it's not these guys, they just don't care enough. Like it sometimes it's like, yeah, they didn't care enough. That's fair. But also we probably didn't establish the culture or the processes appropriately in order to get them to care enough. And so it's probably a little bit of both. And there's a lot of fear around that. And I think it's good fear. Like, Anthony doesn't want to mess up his cash cow, and I get that.
I just don't. It's not really just that. I send them out. I let them do some things by themselves. A lot of times I'm there, even if I'm not actually physically on the truck out there working. I got a son that's coming, probably home from college after this year if he don't go Major League Baseball, and or to a bigger college. He's gonna come home and he's gonna work with us. So then I'm gonna kind of lead myself off in the back and push more of getting the businesses, getting the jobs, keeping them in work and all that stuff, and let him do the footwork and out there in the field and everything. He's got a lot he still have to learn, but probably 6 months to a year and he gets here and get him where he needs to be. But the two guys I got now, one of them works for another pressure washing company. He helps me at night. They're in Christmas light season now, so he helps me at night. They hang Christmas lights during the day. And we just hired another guy, and he's a good worker and everything. So I'll send them out a couple of times by themselves on little jobs, drive-through areas and dumpster pads and stuff. And I also tell them, I said, look, I don't want no call back. I don't care how long it takes you to do it. Make sure it's done right.
Yeah. So I think what we focus on, like, is so I'll give you two things that you just said. Like, one, you have some time before your son comes on. So if I were you and my son was about to take over or, implement himself in my business in some way, I would want him to be as successful as possible with this. And I would want it to be the easiest transition he's ever made into something. And so for me, like I would instantly establish a private YouTube channel, and then I would make videos just with your cell phone and like, hey, this is how you troubleshoot a P40. This is what happens when, you know, your quick connect starts leaking. It's probably an O-ring. And do like video after video after video and just save them to this private YouTube channel, and then make a QR code for each video and put it in a laminated binder. And so when he starts going out into the field, he has all of this like content that he can go and scan a QR code and see what's going on, or watch these videos ahead of time before he even starts.
Yeah.
I think that those types of like, that's what I mean by like systems and processes. When you tell somebody, "Hey, I'll send you this dumpster pad, but I don't want any callbacks," like as an employee, what they want to hear is like, look, callbacks happen. Okay, they're going to happen, and so if they do, this is what happens when a callback happens, right? And this is how to prevent a callback so that we can do as little as possible. Here's a quality control checklist that I want you to perform before you leave the dumpster pad, and then take before and after pictures and attach it to your job so that if the customer does call, we can handle it in a timely manner. Maybe you're off that day and I'm not chasing you around for photos or trying to get your opinion on what went wrong.
Right.
And like, you know, if you have the callback, this is how your commission works on a callback. And I just think like more clarity and guidelines, and then giving them some kind of QC checklist on each job. These are like little small processes and systems that as you implement it, you start seeing that people are able to hold themselves accountable more often, and you're allowed to give them a little more freedom on getting more jobs out there for it.
So you got go ahead, Trudy. I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say, so you've got like the college parents that send their kid to college and then buy a house in the same city to watch over them. And then you've got the college parents that have, you know, educated them and groomed them so they can be successful out on their own. So it's kind of like that. I'm taking it as, you know, you've got to give them the tools to succeed before they leave, and not when they drop out of college say, well, you know, you should have done better. And I get that, you know, you put in like your baby's going to college, but you need to get that baby ready for college. So whenever you send an employee out, like you said, you have to have these guides in place. This is how you've been taught. And the great thing is they can hit that QR code, and that saves a lot of callbacks. So not callbacks, but calling the owner. You know, they do a gas station at 2 a.m. and you get called and say, how do I do this? I forgot. You know, they can go back and look at the QR code or videos and figure it out for themselves. So that's great information.
Yep.
Yeah, I think to your point, and I think honestly, business owners would be more inclined to grow and put systems in there in order to like not micromanage it as much if they understood, like if they looked at it from that point of view as far as like sending their kid off to school, right? Like a lot of people look at, I don't want to mess up my business, so I don't trust people with it. But when you hire someone, there's a responsibility that you have as a business owner to make sure that if you can scale the company, you should be scaling it. Like give this guy that's trusting you and helping you build your dream an opportunity in the future to make more money, manage more people, manage more jobs, right? Like people want to grow. I didn't, at 20 years old, if someone hired me, I wasn't getting hired out of, you know, or 28 years old, 35 years old. I don't want to get hired and know that like this is the only spot I'm going to be at in this company for the next 2 to 5 years, right? Like I need to move up. I want to grow in life. I have things I want to buy, things like that, right? So I think there's a responsibility to growing, and I also think there's a responsibility to giving them the tools to be successful, right? Because without those tools, the growth never happens, and eventually they either get tired of growing or they're tired of being held accountable, but didn't really know what they were being held accountable for before they got held accountable. And this is how you churn out a good technician or a decent person that maybe is not a good technician now, but like could have been with the right, you know, tools to be successful, the right information. And so I think there's a real responsibility. Like when we hire someone at any of my companies, it's, I got to know, can I give you 40 hours a week? Can we onboard you appropriately, right? So do I have you on payroll? Do I have you in all of our, you know, electronic systems, apps, and all of that stuff that you need to be in? Do we have a uniform on your first day? Is someone there to greet you and walk you through the manual, the employee handbook? Have you sign off on those things? Like this is just like a basic day one thing that like if you don't have that in place, I just feel like as you're hiring somebody, like you should really feel guilty that you don't have these things in place, because it's the thing that lets them be able to be successful. So, and to your point, like to the 2 a.m. point though, like it's a real thing. If you clean gas stations, like you're getting calls 24 hours a day, it seems like, and you got to have systems and videos in place so that they don't do that, right? And also it just saves you time. Like we made those videos, and now I don't have to ever say those sentences ever again. Like
Yeah.
those videos are there. If something goes on the job or whatever, we're training somebody. My trainer eventually doesn't have to say these things every single time, which means that this guy I'm paying a salary to, I can make him more productive with his time, right? I always tell everybody, like, treat yourself like you're the first employee and not like the business owner, and try to model the business like, would you like to work in this if you didn't actually own it?
Yeah.
And see what it feels like to just kind of walk around all day not knowing what's going. Like when someone gets hired, does anybody lay out like a 30-day plan for them? Do they know? Anthony, Trudy, with your husband, does anybody like if y'all hired someone, would they know what their week 3 looks like or their week 4 looks like? Because coming to work and not knowing what you're going to be doing for the next month, to me is a scary item, and that's part of that onboarding process, that checklist.
Well, for us, we actually work with the person for over 30 days or until they are knowledgeable and experienced enough to go out and do it. So they're actually getting trained on the job the entire time until they're knowledgeable and we feel comfortable that they can go wash a $10 million house down here. So we do hands-on training that way. Do
you tell them that, like when they're first, like day one, are you like, hey, I want to sit down and give you a 30-day graphic, so you see week 1, this is what we're going to train you on. Week 2, we're hoping to see you do these things, and by week 4, we'd like to see you do these things, so that you know what you can do after week 4. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I came to work and I was like, oh, day 1 I'm training, what are you doing next week? I have no idea. That's like you know what I mean? I have no idea, but I'm going to show up on time and I'm going to work real hard, but I got no idea what direction they're taking me in for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, we might, this week we might be doing flat surfaces, and then depending on the schedule, next week we might be doing a roof or ceiling or, commercial. We don't know. And I guess it depends. We don't have like a boom, 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 this is what we're going to do. Like I tell everybody in the pressure washing industry, you wake up unemployed every day until your schedule's full. You got to get up and get that job. That your phone's not going to ring until you hustle and get those jobs. And so when we do hire somebody, like I said, we work with them daily until we're comfortable enough, and they have done a little bit of everything. They've done roofs, they've done paver ceiling, and we don't just show them like this is how you do it. We actually watch them do it after they've, we train them, we show them, and then we let them do it, and we're watching them do it. And then when we're comfortable enough and they know the techniques, and they're not going to know everything because there's different substrates, different stains, there's different equipment you need for different things. So they're not going to know everything, but they're going to get the basic gist of what we do on a daily basis, because you're not going to say, oh, there's a copper roof. How do you clean that? You don't come across those copper roofs very often, thank goodness. But when they do, we're going to know what the job is prior to sending them out. So we're not going to send them out for failure. It'll be, okay, well, we got a copper roof. You're going to go do the flat work over here, or I'll handle it. Or if we're not busy enough, they'll both go do it so they can learn on that copper roof.
Yeah, so I think even with the inconsistency of like what tasks they'll be doing that day, because like you said, you just don't know what you'll be doing that next month when you hire someone. I think at least laying out like a guideline of like, here's all the stuff that we do, and these are all the things you can expect to see in your first 30 days. And then tell them like, okay, so after your 30 days, I have an expectation that you should know these things, right? Like in 30 days, if you still can't do flat surface work right, this probably is not for you. You know what I mean? Or I'm a bad trainer.
Or less than 30 days.
Sure. So I think, I think there's definitely some expectations at the end of the 30 days for what they can and can't do. And some of the, ahead of time, like in a month's time, they're going to see a house wash, a roof wash, flat surface work, and probably some ceiling work, I'd imagine, in Florida. So, yeah, I mean, there's certainly things that you can establish around there in order to like have them know a little bit about what they're going to be doing and what they're going to be held accountable for in the first 30 days. So when they get done at 30, you're like, hey, you're still not really, rinsing off thoroughly enough. And like, we need to watch this plant protection more. And we've kind of talked to you about it a couple of times. And they're like, oh, sorry, I didn't know plant protection was a big deal. Like, what do you mean it's not big? You know what I mean? Like, I've been saying it over and over again. And so like being able to, I think, have some guideline to go back to and be like, well, we told you these are our things that we always want to look at on a house wash, right? And being able to have that and be like, hey, this is happening in week 2. By week 4, we're expecting you to not be doing these things anymore. And it just allows you to build people properly so that they feel like you're investing in them as much as they're about to invest in your company. And frankly, to help you, I would imagine, build this dream of, some type of passive income in some way or another. I mean, Anthony, it sounds like getting off the truck and doing some leads. I mean, it's not completely passive, but at least you're not carrying a 40-foot ladder or anything next year. So,
Right. So this last guy we hired, I mean, we took him and we walked him around the truck and everything, told him what everything was, basically gave him a rundown on how things work. We got in the truck, we went and did a McDonald's. And I mean, his first time, he didn't know really what to do, what to think. But once he got in there and, we put him on curves, which simple to clean, something a new guy, you just do them. Told him you can take the little surface cleaner and you can run it down the flat part of it if you want to, or you can do it by hand, whichever way you feel more comfortable doing. But he's up now, man, he's like on the dumpster pad, he's doing that. And the rinsing down the parking lot is the biggest thing I have problems with people because they want to wash. They want to start on the right-hand side and they want to go 30 or 40 foot straight down. And then you got to come back and you're going down the middle, 30 or 40 foot with this over here in the middle. It's going over here on the right-hand side. I mean, because it's just blowing everywhere. And I try to tell them, just go 4 or 5 feet. Just keep moving side to side, side to side, and then it all gets rinsed down at one time. But he's a really good guy, man. He's working hard and everything, so I think he's gonna make a good asset to the company.
I've seen guys that's been in the industry for years and years still surface clean over their hose, and it just drives me nuts. It's like, hose management people, just learn how to manage your hose. But that drives me crazy.
That's another thing I have a problem with, even with the guy that washes with the other company. I think he's left-handed. I think he's backwards than everybody else. And, I try to tell him, you just go down this way and turn left. And when you come back up here, you got to turn right. It's just that kind of pattern. I said, and your hose is going to stay over here on your right-hand side all the time. I said, you get down there and you go turning right, and then you want to go up this way and come back and then start your line back up. I mean, you're getting tangled up. I mean, I try to tell them, and I'm just like, y'all want to play do-si-do with that hose, that's up to y'all.
So I always did the training in the wash side before we opened Panhandle. Shane, he said he's not a doctor and he has no patience, or he has no patience because he's not a doctor. So he lets me do it. And, just like on driveways, I'm like, just when you pre-treat, you can see, or even on, when you're doing commercial, you can see where it's running to. And then go to the opposite side and work your way down, or no, work your way up. So the water doesn't dry up, because if you start up there and it's running down, then you have to rewash up top because it dries so fast. So, when you're pre-treating, watch where the runoff is, watch where it's going. Make sure to see if you have to, catch it before it goes somewhere it's not supposed to go. All these little things that you need to be aware of in the industry, a lot of people don't know, and that comes with proper training, not only with your guidelines and on the book stuff, but it's just what we take for granted is common sense, and everybody should know it. They don't, because they've never learned, they've never known it. And just training and education, period, no matter what aspect, is only going to make somebody better and make them grow.
Yeah, we try to take as much of that off of our field managers as possible. So they if in y'all's instance where you're doing like commercial work like that, I think doing again, doing videos on your private YouTube channel and like having this stuff in a link list that you can send them before they even start and say, hey, watch these videos so that you're ready for your first day.
Yeah.
And it allows them to kind of come in with some knowledge of like what you're talking about, so that when you say, hey, go grab the surface cleaner, they know what a surface cleaner is, right? Or, hey, we're going to wash uphill today. They're like, oh yeah, I remember the uphill wash video. Like, I get what you're trying to do here. And it just makes your life so much simpler. And to Anthony's point, like, your first thing you did was walk them around the trailer. Send them a trailer walk around video. You can still walk them around the trailer when they get there, but now you're not speaking Spanish to them as you're walking them around the trailer. Maybe they're able to have a little bit better of a foundation coming in on day one than they would have. And I mean, there's things that you learn in the first couple of days that really you could learn through videos, and some of it's just lingo. And so having that speeds up. I mean, you're now on day 3 when you walk in instead of day 1. And so that saves a lot of time, but it also just saves you from repeating yourself or training people differently. Like, that's the other thing is, like, I see a lot of companies that, like, they train people differently based off of their experience or their work ethic or whatever it is. And then they get down the road a little bit and they're like, hey, why don't you know this? You're a really good employee. And he's like, y'all didn't go over that with me. It's like, oh, did we miss that week? And so, and maybe you purposely missed it because you thought he had enough common sense that you didn't need to go over it, right? You assumed this about him. And as my dad used to tell me, like, he owns a construction company when I was younger, common sense is not so common, right? And so, and a lot of this stuff, I think, where we think it's this universal definition of something, and it's not, right? So, like, let's go clean up this area over here, like clean up the dumpster pad, or let's rinse off this right here. It's like this universal, like, is this, you go back and you're like, you see all the dirt that dried over here, or you see like this stain right by the back corner of the dumpster that you didn't get all the way out. And like, they're like, oh, well, I mean, that's, I went over it twice. And it's like, then you didn't let it dwell long enough, right? And so, like, but I assumed that you knew when I said rinse it off, I meant rinse it off all the way. So like, it's just a universal definition sometimes get us in trouble, and not everyone has them. And so I try to take a lot of that out as much as I possibly can. And whether it's training systems or even like quality control checks, just having the right checklist for stuff. I know in pressure washing, a big difference from some of the other service companies I've either owned or worked with is that the equipment's expensive as hell. And so, and you're running something that's corrosive through it, right? So, what you got to look at there is like, how am I maintaining equipment? What processes can I put in place in order to save me some money so that I can be more profitable through the year? Yeah. I mean, Anthony, you already have and Trudi as well, like, y'all have a well-established businesses that make good money. And so when you look at like, what does this cost throughout the year to maintain this, machine, or these hoses, or these surface cleaners, wands, I mean, all of this stuff costs something. And I just think that more systems around that makes you more profitable, even if you're staying on the truck, right? Like, you're staying on the truck and you have 2 helpers, still having a maintaining systems checklist at the end of every job, or, whatever, allows you to prolong that equipment's life, which ultimately makes you more profitable. And you don't have to work harder or get more jobs that year to put a little bit more money in your pocket. So, yeah, all of those things I think are just super important to businesses. It's where we start with everything. When I start a company or buy a company, like, even like buying a company, when we go, it's like, what do you have as we're looking at this company and we're going to buy it? What do you already have established? Is this something I'm going to have to come in and run myself every day? Because that company is a lot less attractive to me than someone that has a manager. They have a training process. And so for people out there that are building anything that they ever want to sell, like, we were able to sell Peach State after 3 years, not because we were like,
that was crazy.
Yeah. Because we were doing millions of dollars a year, or, something like that. Like, it really was like someone came along and was like, oh, you're not working in the business anymore? I was like, no, I've been in a different state for 2 months building the Founders Workshop, which used to be Trade School Consulting before we rebranded. And so I was like, these guys I have a GM, I have, a crew or 2 crews. So we have multiple vehicles, and they looked at the equipment, they looked at the training processes. I sent them our SOP manual, and they were like, oh yeah, I could buy this and just implement this into, I think they did like exterior painting and stuff like that. And they wanted to get into house washing as well, because they were already running into that a lot. And so, but they looked at it and was like, we can integrate this quickly. And so we were able to find a really profitable exit for my company that was, just at 3 years old. So anybody that's building a business, if you're going to sell it one day, if you have any dream of like, cashing out one day, quote unquote, which it wasn't that.
When
But,
you built that from the ground up, did you not? The pressure washing bin, didn't you start it yourself?
yeah, so we started by knocking doors, taking a deposit, then going and renting the equipment at Home Depot, coming back, doing the
Oh, wow.
job, and then taking the equipment back to Home Depot, collecting the rest of the money. And that's how, I mean, we started it with maybe
You
300
started.
bucks. And
You started less, probably $1,500.
yeah, and we just door knocking, and then we built it from that in 36 months to a multi-$100,000 exit. So it was a real blessing for us. But I think that was a great learning lesson for us too. I'd never worked with it, like grown a company that had equipment that was deteriorating as fast as bleach can make it deteriorate. And so, because like I've owned a lawn care and hardscapes company before that, and if you sharpen the blades, you take care of your lawnmower, you change out your oil. Like this isn't there. You're not using anything that could rust your whole lawnmower in 10 seconds. And so, finding out ways to prevent that from happening, and also training guys so that they don't melt the siding off of someone's house or ruin a copper roof because they didn't pay attention to the right details. Like that stuff it was pressure washing. To Trudy's point, there's so many variables on every single job. And so like you can either say, look, there's a lot of variables and there's nothing we can do except do it, hands-on the same way every other time for the next 10 years. Or, hey, these are a lot of variables. We need to start nailing down each variable right now and figuring out how to put it in this system, how to make this caveat to this system so that they know this is where they go for their support or for their information. Because you can't, in pressure washing, you can't get past 2 or 3 guys on a truck with you rotating throughout the week unless you have systems. They'll rust everything, ruin something, and then you get to, back where Anthony's mindset sometimes goes, where it's like, I can't put anybody on this truck because this is this thing I built and I need it. I can't have them out here ruining it. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of chemicals. I mean, you have to know literal chemistry in order to do pressure washing. And so
Sometimes it feels that way.
it is. I mean, I was literally talking with a pressure washer at the Founders Workshop in September, and he's like, I have this way that I clean wood, and I'm like, all right, explain it to me. And he's like, explaining it to me. I'm like, okay, that's the right way to clean wood. It's this 2-stage. You're going to use a wood brightener at the end. I like this. You're using low pressure. Okay, how do we put this in a graphic or a pamphlet or a trifold that we can hand customers? Because Bud, if I didn't already know all the answers, you'd be speaking a different language to me.
Right.
You're over here talking about different acids and stuff and how they interact with different surfaces. And as a homeowner, like you lost me. You lost me at the front door. And so we went through and like created a graphic and a trifold, some word tracks that he could use in order to build value in a way where you can still convey that value to them without losing them in the science that you do know, but also politely letting them know when you're getting these quotes, man, these people that come out to you, if they're out here spraying and praying, like they can mess up your Japanese maple pretty quickly. And so we don't have to bash the next guy in order to put a roadblock in their way, a rightful roadblock. If you can't answer the question, you shouldn't have the job. So, yeah, I think things like that, going about learning. And I've talked a lot about processes and systems on the training and onboarding side, but there's sales processes and systems, right? How are we going to do the walk around every time so that we can get a consistent result that we can measure later, right? If you're out here closing jobs, Anthony, for your, again, treating yourself like you're the first employee that's doing this, you're going to be a sales guy soon. How are you measuring your KPIs, right? Like, okay, my close rate is this. Is it good or is it bad? And do you do the same thing every time so you can measure your close rate effectively, or you're just hoping to bump into enough people that say yes, right? Like, and it is a numbers game, so that literally could be your plan. But I think if you kind of start honing it in and having systems around, what do I say? How do I say it? Do I say the same thing in the same order every time? You can start to find the variables in those that you can tweak in order to get those conversions higher. So yeah, there's systems are everywhere in companies. And I think if you tie those down a little bit more, you start to see that they start to work for you, and you can get some of that get some of that gray hair back.
Yeah. So professionalism also, I get a bunch of guys that give me guff when I'm like, hey, if somebody pulls up and opens their tailgate and there's a gallon of bleach and a thing of Dawn and a Home Depot's pressure washer. I know we always start somewhere. And they've got their khakis all bleached out and they got a t-shirt all bleached out and they show up at a home. As a homeowner myself, if I looked out the window and I seen that, I was like, well, I got bleach in the laundry room, I got Dawn in my kitchen, and
I got a water hose like that.
I'm like, I can do this. Why am I paying this guy $800 to come wash my house when I've got everything that he uses? So, I always get guff. People's like, well, we start somewhere. Yeah, we all start somewhere, but even just dress professional. If you use bleach and Dawn, just don't make it visible. Just, keep your stuff where it looks like you are a professional company. That's how you're going to grow. And, they're going to tell their neighbors, if you show up professional and you do a great job, then neighbors are going to know because or their family members. So, even when we started out, we bought used equipment and we didn't know anything about 20 years ago. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have any of it. So, we had to play the game the best we knew how until we learned the game. And what we had in our favor was the professionalism, to look the part, to look like we knew what we were doing. And a lot of times we screwed up because we didn't have anybody telling us, hey, that's not the right way to do it. We had to learn from our mistakes. And I see a lot more guys out here. Like, I love going to conventions because I always see all the sublimated shirts everywhere. I love them. I'm just like, how many bubbles can you fit in a room? It's great. But it looks good. It looks, if your whole crew is wearing the same shirt, it just looks good. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. It makes you look more professional.
We pulled up at a job one day and I went by and looked at the house and the driveway and they wasn't there, and called them, priced it. And they said, yeah, do it. When can you do it? And I gave them a date. We come back out and the lady's husband was there, or boyfriend or something. I don't know what he was, but anyway, he was there. We pull up. I knock on the door, introduce myself and all that stuff. And we were dressed in our shirts and everything. Me and my helper was. And he walks outside and he sees the truck and he said, wow. He said, you the man I want on the job. Because everything was just, the truck, it's nothing fancy. It just got a couple pressure washers on it, some hose reels and stuff. But the stuff that's on it, you're going to be able to do whatever you need to do on everybody's house. He got asking questions about it. So I just gave him a little rundown. I said, back then we had the AR was still on the truck. I said, this is a roof pump. It's AR, and it shoot X amount of feet and everything. It about 150 PSI. We won't wash your house with it. I said, it keeps from blowing seals out of your windows and all this stuff. And just went on, just gave him a big old, just built the company up. And he said, I got a big house in Huntsville that I need you to come clean, look at it in a big fancy subdivision and everything. So, just being dressed the way you should and educating your customer at times if they ask questions about your equipment, I'll tell them. Yeah. They ain't nothing on my truck I ain't going to tell you nothing about. But, just being there, being set up for that led to another job in a bigger neighborhood.
Well, I think to Trudy's point, so we can control the controllables. That's all we got, right? Like, I can't control that I didn't own an F-250 when I started and I was door knocking and getting deposits and going to Home Depot. And when I come back, you see that it's a Home Depot pressure washer. But the first thing we did was create a website and then and social medias and then a uniform and started working on what my SOP would look like, going and getting educated at some of these expos or reaching out to other pressure washers and seeing if I can't talk to them, work for free, do whatever to get any kind of knowledge from them. But then I still showed up with a rental in a Prius. That was our first company car. So
y'all?
We do what?
Was that y'all? Running around the Prius with a pressure washer.
No, like I really don't like when people are like, hey, these guys out here are doing this. And it's like, hey, look, some people are out here trying to make a living, put some food on their table. I was trying to figure something out at the time, but at the same time, I had a uniform. I had little magnets that went on the doors when we did use it, and people would hire us. I wouldn't show up in the Prius, right? Like we'd show up the Prius with the magnet on the door. They're like, oh, this is a good estimator car. And this guy has a uniform, and I have like a pamphlet, and I have all of my insurances, and I'm the only employee, and I still was doing all of this stuff just so I could be starting off on the right foundation. Right. But then I'd come back after I sold the job and start unloading this stuff out of the back of the Prius. And they're like, who the hell did we just hire? Right. But it was getting my foot in the door, because I knew if you hired me and I got out there, like regardless of what my setup looks like, I'm going to make sure that this is done appropriately. And you got a good price, and so let's see what I can do, but I can't get that if I'm rolling up in the Prius with no magnets on there, no shirt, no pamphlet, no website,
wife beater shirt on, and cut off blue jeans,
and so for people out there that are trying to like make something of themselves and have nothing to start with to do that, that's okay. Like I know that there's some established pressure washers that are going to hate to see you out at a job site, but it's okay that you can do that. Do not feel embarrassed about it, but control your controllables, right? Like to her point, like show up in the right. It doesn't cost but like $30 to get you some. Maybe I'm underpricing that at this point with inflation. It's been years, but some Frog Talk pants. $30. Like I don't need to have a sublimation shirt to start off. I just got to go find some polyester shirt I can get a logo put on, get some Frog Togs and some Crocs with some waterproof socks, or I don't know, something where my feet don't get, my toenails don't fall off, and like go out there and do a really good job. And then just making sure that, like, if you're gonna start off in a Prius, spend some time doing something like the Panhandle Expo where you can learn the craft, right? I said this at the very beginning. The thing that you do first after you learn the craft is to start figuring out how to be a better business owner. But if you're not ever good at the craft, whatever you build on top of that is not going to be cost cards. So you've got to know the skill set that you're out there selling to people. And then from there, you can kind of start to build. So to Trudy, my belief is that anybody should be able to do this. We live in America. I also want to make sure that if you are doing it, like, hear us when we say it costs nothing to go get a t-shirt, some Frog Togs, a couple of door magnets, have you spend $50, make up a couple of brochures or something that you can hand people, get you the right CRM that costs you $29 a month. Like these little bitty things that you try to skip to save $1 in the beginning are the difference between you coming off as a professional and also growing as one. I think if you're already making shortcuts on day one, it's hard not to keep doing that discipline on day 2, 3, 4, and forward. So I'm a firm believer in getting out there and hustling. I've never knocked the $99 pressure washing guy. Like, and frankly, I've never worried about them as a business. I've never been one when it comes to I have a good friend that does these houses in Carolina for $99, and I've never been that guy, but also I've never worried about that guy. Like my businesses have always run just well. And if this guy isn't pricing his stuff appropriately and doesn't have the profit in his business model that he needs when he gets in 3 years to get ready to replace that equipment, he'll go out of business anyway. So like, don't worry about that guy. Just worry about what you're doing every day and make sure you're putting your best foot forward and presenting yourself as a professional in your craft that you have.
But I think a lot of the $99 guys, if you look, it says starting at $99. There ain't a whole lot of stuff you're going to wash for $100.
So when I said professional looking,
get out of bed for $100.
Showing up professional looking, it's not the equipment. So Bob can have the same stuff on his trailer that John has, but John's got his hoses thrown in there. He's got trash thrown in his trailer. He's got empty jugs. He's got all that, and it looks like a chaotic mess. Where Bob, who has the exact same equipment, he uses the exact same chemicals,
but he's OCD,
tidy and clean, and shows up. Because if you want somebody to wash your house, you look at, okay, so what do they say? You want to know how somebody lives? Look at their car, inside their car. If you're hiring somebody to clean and they show up and it's a total disaster, you're just kind of like going, oh, well, All right. So it's not, being professional is not the equipment you have. You can have a 2.5 gallon a minute machine and go out and make money, but presenting yourself as a professional and, showing up decent and clean and with your equipment clean is where I'm getting at. If
It's a mindset.
it's a mess and you're chaotic and you can't even keep your trailer together, how are you going to get your life together? So
Well, how are you going to keep my landscaping together? Like that's,
Yeah.
As someone that does have a Japanese maple in their front yard, I really do. Like if I come out, especially someone that's, I've owned a pressure washing company, but if I hadn't, like when we call, a plumber out to the house, if you show up in a F-150, looks like it barely made it there and has no labels on the side of it, and there's trash all over in your truck bed, and you got pipes that are, sticking out left and right, and they're not on your racking appropriately. And I'm looking at these little details because if you don't watch these details, who's watching them when you get in my house? Who's watching them when you start pressure washing and looking at property protection and stuff? Like, it's not that I don't believe you won't tape off something. It's, will you tape it off the right way, right? It's, did you check the box or did you check a purpose? And if you're not there and being purposeful and intentful in what you do, which, if you're riding around in that truck dirty like that all day or probably days on end, then you're probably not intentful with how you act about things, because I wouldn't have done that. Like I just wouldn't have. So, or by the end, I mean, somebody's got to tell them at lunchtime, you got to throw your trash out. Like you just stop and get out and throw it in the trash can. So like these little things matter to homeowners. It matters to commercial work even more. Property managers and stuff are looking at your professionality. And so to Trudy's point, I don't think it's necessarily your equipment or your trailer. And it's great that Anthony had an experience where his, setup was professional enough that someone thought, let me give you my big house. But even with something small and you're starting out, guys, just remember it's not about the setup. It's about your mindset. For me, if you have the mindset of a professional, and I'm a sucker for it, but I mean, most people I think are in general will give you the opportunity if it looks like you're there to earn it. And if you're looking, you show up and you kind of look like, hey, I figure if I show up to 10 of y'all's houses, somebody was going to give me some work today and I can make a little money. That's not who I want to hire in 2025. Like I want somebody that's there, that's intentful and purposeful for what they're doing.
So when we started, Shane actually had a Maxima, and so he had to borrow his mom's SUV, and we had a Home Depot 4 gallon a minute in there before we found the used equipment, because both of us were trying to work with a 4 gallon a minute machine, and I'm not a hose puller. I'm a worker, so I'm not going to be dragging his hose for him. He's strong enough to do that. So we liked it, and so then we started looking for the equipment. But we pulled up in the back of his mom's Explorer, and
Exploder.
and lifted that 4 gallon a minute out, hooked it up to their spigot, and went. But that's how we started. But we showed up professional, shook their hand, showed them before and after pictures, did what we did back, 20 years ago, because we didn't have, look at my Facebook, we didn't have that. So, we were able to be professional and still start where we started. So like I said, it's not about the equipment or what you have. I think it's more being sure about yourself. If you can't sell yourself, if you go out to do a commercial job and you got 5 guys there bidding on a commercial job, you need to have confidence in yourself that you can do the work and be, educated and know you can do the work to get the job. And I mean, that's also part of being professional.
Yep. We got a couple of good little comments from Delta Hydro Cleaning. Tell everyone in his area that asks why he's successful. Number 1, education, which is key. We've been over that. Number 2, understanding your customer's base. We've kind of been over that a little bit from time to time. And number 3, market your customers. And then he goes on down. He agrees with Trudy. The first impression, your foot in the door. So he loves the DIY customers. I love educating people in local hardware stores. And then agree with David. Don't believe in a $99 guy. Everybody has to start somewhere.
Right.
But I also say this is easy industry, but it's easy to chase insurance claims without the proper education, which he is correct.
Yes, it is. So we have a $99 guy. He was, I think, probably 19 now, so young. He's got signs over 3 counties. 3 counties. He's got his $99 for the first 1,000 square foot. He doesn't say what the rest of the square foots cost, but the first one. And he went from a little 4 gallon a minute. Then he came in and we plumbed him for 5.5. And then he went to an 8. Then he added a soft wash. And that's all been this year. This kid is hustling. He is clean. He is professional. And he's getting it. And I texted him last month sometime. I'm like, I just want to let you know how proud I am of you. Not only you're out there hustling to make this money, but he calls me, he sends me pictures if he's not sure about something. And he's like, I don't think I can't do this. I don't think I can do this. I'm not confident in this. I'm going to walk away from the job. It was a big commercial job. And I said, you know what? I'm so proud of you to know your limitations, that you're not just going to say, screw it and wash it and damage it. And then what happens, at the end. So, yeah, I mean, he's got $99 on his signs, but he's not making $99, so it's
like Jeffrey Blackman right there said $99 should be as sort of season as market strategy, just get you in the yard to make the thousands.
Yep.
Yeah, I think to Delta Hydro's point, like the first thing is education, right? So he feels confident in the service that he can provide.
Yes.
But then understanding your customer base is where, and marketing to your customers appropriately based off of your understanding of them. So I just had this call with a mobile detailer, very, very similar industry in the sense of like it doesn't take a lot of money to get into it. And he was like, man, I'm having real trouble selling $300 car details. And I'm like, what's your average income in your area? And he, it's like $30,000, $36,000, $40,000 a year. And I'm like, okay, so the guy makes $3,000. You're asking 10% of his monthly income come to just so you can wash his car. I said, yeah, that's probably a hard sell for people. I think if you look at, most of the people that live in your area, it's a real blue collar area also. So like these dudes are used to working hard. These people get out there and bust their butt. And then you come back and you're like, give me 10% of your monthly income and I'll come clean your car. I would think that they're probably like, I clean it myself, maybe not do as good a job, but like I can be okay with that before I give you the little bit of extra change I got at the end of the month from all these hours I just worked. And so to their point, he was like, I'm thinking about moving, or I was like, you don't need to move or like shut your business down. You're not understanding who your person is that you're trying to market to, right? So like you need to figure out how to make that service at $300, $125, and you need to figure out how to provide value while not providing as much value as your $300 service, and then be able to get out there and establish a rapport with that customer. And then occasionally they may see like special occasion, anniversary. I just got back from vacation. It's really dirty. Like, let me see if I can't call the guy and get him out here for $300, $325. Today, I see the reason. I built rapport with him, so he trusts me. He knows that I do a lot better job than he does. And so understanding like, your market, understanding what their income is, are they a dual income household makes a big difference on whether they value time, right? Like what can they afford at a convenience rate? And so I think all of that stuff goes into the $99 guy talk, where it's like, and I mentioned my friend in Carolina, like, yeah, you're marketing $99 with yard signs. To Trudy's point, I don't think that's where they really end up, right? But no one's going to call you off a yard sign if you say $600. Like, it's just not that area that he lives in is a bunch of vinyl siding, single story homes that people are out there like, man, I would probably just get out here and figure it out myself for $600. That might be close to their mortgage. So like, I think that people really underestimate the idea of like being able to upsell people and build rapport with people and have people see the value in their service once they arrive, see your setup, which always, tends to impress people because I don't think really understand what goes into pressure washing. Like a lot of service businesses, they assume, if I went to Home Depot, I could probably do this. And that's why Home Depot is $1 billion company, right? Because a lot of Americans think I should go do it myself.
Right.
And they get into it and they realize like, oh, there is a reason there's a whole career around this, because it does require you to be a professional and have a craft. So yeah, I think that it's fine for the $99 guy to advertise. To Trudy's point, this kid is raking it in because he's getting leads off his sign. What he
Right.
does with the leads is different. And if you can't figure out how to compete with him, like complaining about him ain't going to do you any good. So I've never been a fan of like focusing on other people or what they're doing, but I am a fan of watching people figure out how to maneuver within their market.
Yes.
And because again, this kid that Trudy's talking about, we don't know. I don't know him, from Adam, but like his options may be limited in life. This may be something that like he was like, hey, I'm either going to go to work for some construction company at $20 an hour. Or I'm going to go out here and make a different life for myself. And I'm never going to be upset for somebody figuring out how to maneuver in the market that way and grow that quickly. And I think to my point earlier, like if you are truly charging $99 and you figured out how to do a vinyl sided, ranch house in 60 minutes, maybe you got some volume business plan that I don't quite understand that works. And if the numbers work, the numbers work. I think generally when you're not charging enough, just so that people understand that are listening, when you're not charging enough, it does eventually affect you. It doesn't affect you maybe your first 6 months or maybe your first year.
Yeah.
But the moment that like something comes up out of the blue, you backed your trailer into something, you bent it, or you popped a tire, bent an axle, one of your machines didn't get flushed properly because you hired your first guy and didn't really understand it cost you $3,000, like for a new pressure washing pump or something, like whatever it is that ended up coming up out of the blue, or eventually your equipment just ages out. And when that happens,
Yeah.
you have money to go replace this stuff. Have you been putting money back from your net margins, or did you not have any net margins because you were literally out here just slinging bleach at cost? And so if those things happen, they'll eventually go out of business anyway. So like, why put them down or worry about them? And I'm a big fan of rising tides. Like I think it does rise all ships. And so for me, like if I see people out there like that, I'm more inclined to give them advice, much like what sounds like what Trudy's doing, than I am to try to figure out, hope that they don't work out. Like it's just, there's enough pie to go around for everybody. One for me doesn't mean less for you.
And building relationships, I talk about this all the time. It's like building a relationship instead of going out to find customers. You have a relationship here in Florida, you need to wash your house every year, at least, sometimes every 6 months, depends on which area you're in and how much shade you have and how much rain we had and how hot it was, with all the mildew, the state flower here. But, it's making those relationships so you can call them 2 weeks before your year's up, say, hey, it's been almost a year. Can I get you on the schedule? I had a great, we had a great interaction last time, and just make sure you keep in contact with those people. And I mean, if you have a slow week, if it's like, all right, we've got a monsoon coming, you got a week, let's go back and look at who we washed last year. Let's give them a call and say, hey, I'm filling up my schedule for this month. Can I get you on there? Or if they're like, no, I think we're good, and then ask, say, hey, was there anything I did wrong? Is there something I didn't do that you expected? And get that feedback from those homeowners and build your company like that. Because if you don't know that you're not doing something, or people are expecting more that you're not offering, you're never going to be able to get past that too.
I've done that on commercial jobs. Go out like restaurants. Oh, we got somebody. Well, what's something they're not doing that you would like for them to do that they keep missing every month or every 3 months or something? Yeah. And it'd be something that, somebody said, well, the fascia of the curve right up there at the sidewalk in the front door, they miss it all the time. In which that's one of my pet peeves. I mean, you pull up the parking lot, your sidewalk's clean, your building's clean, but when you're pulling in, the first thing you see is that fascia of that curve, that sidewalk right there, and it's dirty.
Yeah. Or they've cleaned the dumpster pad and they rinse the dumpster pad, but they just leave it all in the parking lot. There's all that crap floating around there.
That kind of stuff, though, when I hear that, I try to reverse engineer that for my business as well. So someone says, oh, these are the things that I don't like. And instantly, I think, as soon as you said that, I was like, ooh, I would, for commercial work specifically, I would implement some kind of automated follow-up system. Yeah. Like, hey, let us know if you saw anything, that you didn't like, because asking that question is a great question. You
That's
should
what
be
I
asking
done
it to everybody after you leave yourself, not after they leave.
That's what I did with Zaxby's. We just picked up 4 of them, and I talked to the manager guy, and I told him, I said, look, I said, we're human. We're out here at night. Some of their property at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, the lights go off automatically. They can't figure out how to change the timer on them for us. So I mean, we're out there. I said, we're liable to miss something. I said, if your manager gets there, your employees get there, and they see something that we may have missed, I said, call me. I'll go look at it. And if we missed it, I'll get it fixed. I said, because we're human, we make mistakes. I mean, so I just don't. I want to set his expectations like this guy really wants to make me proud because what he's paying us. See what I'm saying? So sure. It was like, and we ain't had no call back from him yet. So, what's up, Phil? Well, it's been an hour and 5 minutes and 30 seconds already. That was a fast hour of our life. It just went by.
It just went by. It was like 9 minutes, and now it's an hour after. 5 after. So it was, it was a great talk as usual. I love bringing David on. He's got so much information, and even though Anthony's not going to let go of that steering wheel, he still listens to you.
Yeah, because I think we talked about this.
He'll get me there one day. He'll talk me into it. He'll talk me out of it.
Well, I mean, even if you don't, though, like if you never get off the truck, I mentioned this in the, during this, like it doesn't mean that you can't implement, so that you should just shy away from implementing systems that make your company better. Whether that's like you're telling property managers this, you should have some kind of automated email that goes out to them so that you don't have to worry about remembering to tell every new property manager, or that property, the manager leaves at Zaxby's and doesn't relay that to the next manager. And then you had this one poor experience one time, because we all know that the drive-throughs can be wishy-washy. Like you mess them up one time, all of a sudden they're hiring somebody else, which is crazy to me. I used to joke about this with McDonald's, because McDonald's will give you a bad service visit 9 out of 10 times. And I go back and get the stupid cheeseburger anyways. But if I mess up one drive-through, I'll give you 9 out of 10 good experiences. They'll drop you like a bad habit. And I think it's crazy, but that's the business that we work in. And so, I really appreciate talking with you guys. But I do hope that I'm able to have real impact at the expo and provide some people with good value that they can take back in their company. And whether it's scaling your company and growing, whether that's hiring or marketing or whatnot, or if it's just a situation where you're like, I don't really want to grow it that much. I'd like to get 2 or 3 guys to help me out and me be able to kind of run the job and do the marketing. There's always some room for improvement there that takes stuff off your plate. And to my point earlier, I think anytime you can buy your time back with a free implementation of a system or process, instead of having to literally buy it back, which is what we do a lot of times by hiring field managers or operation managers. You got to take advantage of that as a business owner, for no other reason than to see your family more often, or see the TV set more. Something you got to get some of your personal time back, because we're always wearing 12 hats. So, anyways, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the expo and really pouring into some people this year.
Awesome. And if you haven't registered, the link down below, go to register at panhandleexpo.com. Get the app. The app has got a lot of education on it. It's got forums, got a lot of information for you as while you're at the expo. It's going to keep you updated. If something changes, if one of our speakers are late and we have to change the speakers, we're going to update it on the app. So download the app, get registered, and we'll see you November 4th, 5th, and 6th, guys. Thank you guys for being here tonight. It was great.
Thank you, David. We'll see you in 33 days, my friend.
33 days.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.